Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
A small Alabama town gets sued after white officials refused to allow its first Black mayor to exercise his
duties for the last 3 years. Folks, we'll be joined by one of the attorneys for the NAACP Legal Defense Fund who filed an injunction to force the town to hold elections. The OJ Simpson murder that will always be a trial people will talk about tonight, which had with Carl Douglas, who was on the defense team, led by Johnnie Cochran. Also, Dr. Rachel Ross will join us in the studio to talk about sexual health. We're going to talk about sex. Yeah, don't be scared. Don't be scared. Also, Trump folks lie again. So they portray this whole deal, how he shows up at the Atlanta University Center to just bump into Black people who are voting for him. It was a paid op. It was all staged, folks. And I keep telling you, Republicans are not pro-life. In Florida, the governor signed the bill stopping cities from passing bills to make sure people have water breaks who work outdoors. These people are sick and demented. It's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
The first elected and first Black mayor in Newbern, Alabama, has not been able to carry out his duties, leaving the town because white folks there have blocked him from taking his seat for 3 years. Patrick Braxton assumed office by default in 2020 when he filed for office, and no one else, including the incumbent, did the same. Previous Newbern mayors had been appointed or ran unopposed, with several serving for more than 10 years. Many residents did not know they were even allowed to have elections. Seriously, Braxton has an ongoing lawsuit alleging the white town leaders arranged an illegal and secret special election, preventing Braxton from appointing a majority Black town council and Newbern voters from electing their candidates of choice. And Newbern is about 77 miles southwest of Birmingham, and its population is 80% Black, 20% white. However, the town's leadership, except for Braxton and his town council, has been majority white for years. The Legal Defense Fund has filed a preliminary injunction to force Newbern to hold elections and to allow its citizens to vote for the first time in years. My goodness, this is, okay, so I know somebody's watching me right now, and you're saying y'all have got to be kidding. But remember what happened in Ferguson. Same thing, 6-7% Black, and for the longest, they didn't have a Black mayor. You often see this happen in these small towns in Alabama and Mississippi. And so we must understand this is a reality. Marinika Fujani joins us right now, special counsel of the LDF. She's been working on this. Okay, so walk us through this. Walk us through this. When is the last time they actually had an election?
So as we understand it,
The town of Newbern has not had elections since at least the last few decades. They may not have ever had elections before the Voting Rights Act was passed in 1965.
The last few decades?
That's right.
What the like? What the hell? Do the people there not get news? Were they seeing elections happening everywhere else, and no one said, "Hey, what about us?"
So what's been happening is that different white residents of the town have been appointing themselves and other white residents that they know to the positions of town council member and mayor. And it's been essentially a hand-me-down governance system for the past several decades.
So nobody black said anything? No one? I'm baffled that you could have a majority black town and literally this just went on and it was okay.
I think it is hard to wrap your mind around in terms of why before 2020, when Patrick Braxton decided to run for mayor, why didn't that happen previously? But that just hasn't been the practice. That hasn't been the history. And also remember that this town is quite segregated. So the Black people in the town live in a different part of town, and they have basically tended to take care of themselves by themselves without help of the official town governance.
So, I mean, I get segregation. Okay, so all of a sudden, no one decides to run, so Patrick goes, hey, I'm going to run. And what? They just said, nope, you're not going to be the mayor. I mean, first of all, how does the state attorney general allow this to happen?
I think that's a really good question. I think that's where things really start to get complicated when Patrick Braxton decided to run for mayor. At first, the outgoing mayor did not give him the proper information to qualify for a candidate of mayor, but Mr. Braxton was very intent on running and did the research that he needed to do so that he could still qualify. And then I think the problems really began not only after he decided to run, but it was really after he recruited other residents, and then it was only Black residents who decided to serve on his town council, that the outgoing white power structure decided that they wanted to put a stop to that.
How large is this town's budget? What do they actually control? What are they in charge of?
Well, Newbern is quite a small town that probably has between 200 to about 350 residents. There's the town post office, there's a town hall, there are a few other municipal buildings, but it's really quite small. So I don't actually think that this dispute is about getting a lot of access to town funds. It seemed to be more about holding on to those vestiges of power and trying to maintain that white-dominated town governance.
So since this happened, I mean, have the Black folks there woken up? Have they realized that, man, we've been getting screwed all these years and we now want justice? We want this to be done the right way?
I think since Mayor Braxton decided to run, since he recruited his town council members, since all of the media attention and the lawsuit, I think it has really changed the conversations that are happening in the town of Newbern, and it's making the residents really think about, for the first time, having a town government that serves them.
So where do we stand right now? I mean, is Braxton, is he in office? What's going on?
Where we stand right now is that who the lawful mayor is and who the town council is in dispute, and it's really what the centerpiece of the lawsuit is. And we have a hearing on May 6th that is really going to go to the core of determining who the right mayor and town council should be, and also making the town of Newbern hold elections.
Is this in state court? Is this in federal court?
That's in federal court. in the Southern District of Alabama.
Have y'all heard anything from the state?
From the town defendants?
No, from State Secretary of State, from State Attorney General, from the governor.
No.
Is there where Newbern is I'm sure there's a county government there. So any of the county officials, how about the state rep or the state senator, the member of Congress that represents that area? Anything?
They haven't been in touch with the Legal Defense Fund, but maybe they've been in touch with Mayor Braxton directly.
Wow. It is just stunning that we can be in 2024 and these folks, they're located in the Black Belt, are still trying to actually elect their own mayor in leadership.
Absolutely.
That's just wild. So you said the hearing is May 6th?
Yes, that's right.
All right. Well, we certainly will be paying attention to see what happens.
Thank you.
All right. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Matt Manning, civil rights attorney out of Corpus Christi. He joins us. Also, Caleb Bethea, communication strategist, joins us as well. Michael Imhotep hosts the African History Network show out of Detroit. Matt, this is absolutely crazy, bro. This is insane.
Yeah, this is not only insane. I thought that there had to be some weird issue with the maybe city ordinances or the codes. So actually, while you were speaking with the attorney, I read the Alabama law because I was just confused. And basically, in most states, they have a whole section of law that that relates to municipalities and corporations and basically how cities and towns are incorporated and what their powers are, all of that. So Newbern would be a Class 8 municipality in the state of Alabama. And the reason I mention that is because oftentimes there are gaps when they're very small cities and towns in terms of their ability to just govern themselves. So I thought maybe they had some kind of weird law that allowed the mayor to appoint everybody on the city council and some of the stuff I read in advance of this segment. But getting down to it, this is out and out racism and out preservation of power, because the Alabama codes, as it relates to even Class 8 municipalities, talks all up and through about elections. So the fact that there haven't been elections here, I think is proof positive that there's clearly been a very caustic power dynamic, and there's been a power dynamic where even among 350 some odd people, the Black people there have been cordoned off and been rendered unable to participate fully in their democracy. So I'm hoping that the federal judge sees this as just a per se, you are being divested of your 15th Amendment right to vote. You're being divested of your right to be a fully participative citizen. And hopefully he or she, not only issues the injunction, but make sure that the people of Newbern actually get to have a voice.
This is crazy, Kelly. Just crazy.
It's crazy, but it's also really fascinating to me because after, listening to the LDS attorney, or representative rather, I am now curious to know exactly how many other municipalities are in this exact same situation, in that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of small towns just like Newbern, Alabama, and certainly throughout the South. I wonder just how many are in a similar or exact same predicament, in that there are no elections because the town is so small, and I'm assuming the demographic is relatively older. Usually small towns of this size, we're talking about people who have been there their entire lives, don't really, venture out and then come back. We're talking about people who have been there and have stayed there their entire lives, residents who, are pretty much used to how things are and aren't necessarily exposed to how things can be or are currently in the rest of the state, rest of the country, and beyond. So I think certainly the white residents of Newbern know and take advantage of that. And not only is that disgraceful, I think it really does need to be explored by the DOJ, because this is, in my opinion, an even bigger issue.
Michael.
Yeah, Roland, I know some people act surprised by this, but This doesn't surprise me at all, especially if you understand the history of Alabama. No, you look at the Alabama State Constitution in 1901, okay, that codified white supremacy. And that's not me saying that. That's the Encyclopedia of Alabama. When you go research it, they instituted poll taxes and literacy tests to suppress the African-American vote. When you go back and look at the lawsuit of Gomillion versus Lightfoot, 1961, this was to fight against the gerrymandering that the state of Alabama was doing in Tuskegee, Alabama, and locking out almost all of the African-American voters and bringing in to this district poor white voters. And Tuskegee, Alabama had a higher literacy rate than the surrounding white counties, largely because of Tuskegee Institute.
But Michael, no. I mean, first of all, you go through the civil rights movement, the Black freedom movement. You got what happened in Selma. You got what happened in Birmingham. You get the Voting Rights Act in 1965. They're only 77 miles from Birmingham. I'm a little surprised you don't have an election since 1965. I mean, that's we ain't say 1985, 1995, 1965.
Well, Roland, January 6, 2021, you had a group of domestic terrorists to try to overthrow the government.
No, I understand that. But an 80% black town, 20% white, not having an election since the 60s. Yeah, that's still shocking.
I'm not saying it's right.
No. I'm saying again, what? There's no news this is sort of like the Japanese soldier, who they found 30 years later, didn't realize the war was over. I just don't understand how people living in this town got no news about any election anywhere else in the country and was like, damn, we ain't had one since 60-something. I'm just saying.
Very quickly here, one of the points I've made before numerous times on this show is oftentimes white people will value our vote and fear our vote more so than we will. Okay, and I'm not trying to condemn anybody in this town. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying white people fear the African American vote, and in the words of the great master teacher, historian Dr. John Henry Clark, he would say, "I'm surprised that you're surprised." This does not surprise me.
Since the 60s, yeah, it surprises me. All right, got to go to a break. We come back. We're going to talk about Trump rolls up to the Atlanta University Center and, all the MAGA people. Oh, look at the black people just in love with Trump. It was all a staged setup. We'll talk about it. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
Terry and I, we couldn't play in the white clubs in Minnesota. It felt like such a, strength through adversity type moment that I think black people just have to go through. We have to figure it out.
Right.
We make lemons out of lemonade. But there's a reason we rented a ballroom, did our own show, promoted it, got like 1,500 people to come out. Clubs were sitting empty. They were like, "Where's everybody at?" And I said, "They're down watching the band you wouldn't hire." So it taught us not only that we had the talent of musicians, but we also had have the talent of entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like a seat at the table. It's like, no, let's build the table.
That's right.
We got to build the table. And,
that's right.
And that was the thing. And of course, after that, we got all kinds of offers.
Of course.
Right, to come play in the clubs. But we didn't do it. We said,
"No, we're good."
No, we're good. We're good. And that's what put us on a path of national. And of course, when Prince made it, then it was like, okay, we see it can be done.
what's up? Geek to the place to be. Got Kicked Out Your Mama's University, creator and executive producer of Fat Tuesdays, an air hip-hop comedy. But right now, I'm rolling with Roland Martin, unfiltered, uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable. You hear me?
All right, folks. So, anytime Donald Trump does anything with black people, we should just automatically assume it's fake. And so you've seen the videos, Trump dropping by this Chick-fil-A in the Atlanta University Center, and he gives this black woman a hug, and oh Lord, MAGA has been just excited, and oh, look at the black people just loving on Trump, and look at this here. And like, so here's one of the videos. They were like, look who popped by the AUC, and while he was in Atlanta. Let me start this over so I can play it for y'all, because it's actually, to me, it's pretty hilarious. And I'm gonna pull up in a second, so give me, I'm trying to pull it up. And so again, the way folks have played this is that this was just a surprise visit, and he dropped by, and he's coming by and look, and then of course, folks at Fox News, they love running with it, and that boy Lawrence B. Jones, who ain't never seen a fact he refuses to check. He just fact checking evades Lawrence B. Jones like a haircut, and so check this out. Watch this here.
Thank you, everybody. And if they run a little bit low, give them some extras, okay? Are you the boss? No, sir. No. Come here. Thank you. Thank you very much. You take care of yourself. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, come on over. Come on over. We appreciate with that beautiful hair.
Come on, Malika. Come on. Malika and James, I got your phone. Come on.
Go ahead, take it.
Come on.
Come on.
Here we go. In place. Okay. Oh, I gotta go this way.
Sitting here, and again, it's like, oh, this is, and then the sister, she's talking about the Atlanta University, talking about, oh, we support you. Folks on social media like, girl, who the hell is we? Who the hell is we? Like, who you speaking about? We support Trump. Well, the folks at Midas Touch, they've been tweeting about this, and they were like, yeah, that was all a lie. Let me show you what they put up. Because they talked about this, saying that what was portrayed as, this impromptu thing, you'll see it right here, breaking, Trump's viral hug at Chick-fil-A was actually with a MAGA operative. It turns out Michaela Montgomery is a political consultant who worked for the Georgia GOP for years and is a city director for Candace Owens' Blexit organization. That sort of blows up that BS nonsense. Kelly?
I mean, and I really hope I'm not, being too mean about this, but I have yet to see a group, a singular person or a group of black people around Trump that looks presentable. And by that, I don't mean like respectability, politics, and politically presentable. I mean, the crusty wig, the ingrown hairs on the beard, the wrinkled shirts, the disheveledness. And it's like you scrape the bottom of the barrel of what we represent. And I'm not saying that we're a monolith or anything like that, but it just goes to show you how far and deep inside our trenches you have to go in order to find black people or any race, really, to stand next to Trump in confidence as though it is a good thing to do, as though you should be proud of doing it. That is like my biggest takeaway from seeing this footage and seeing this content. It's like, this is not a representation of black people. This is not what we are about. And the pandering that these black people have been doing, the groveling that I see them doing in order to be accepted by this very racist, very bigoted,
very ignorant white man. It's just astounding to me how far some of us are willing to go in order to feel accepted.
Here's his tweet here, Trump's press secretary. Michaela Montgomery, who met President Trump at a Chick-fil-A in Atlanta, joined Fox and Friends to discuss why she and so many in the black community are all in for Trump. It was staged. It was a joke, Michael. Come on. That's all it was. It was fraudulent.
What do you expect from a guy who gained fame from a reality TV show, and he wasn't the one that came up with the phrase "you're fired"? And according to Joanne Reed on MSNBC, it was the producers of The Apprentice who determined who was going to be voted off as well. So this is expected. Remember, 2015, when he came down that escalator at Trump Tower, we found out that those people there cheering for him, many of them were paid to be there. Okay. Then he came to Metro Detroit. I can't remember whether he was in Detroit or a suburb, but recently he was here in Metro Detroit and visited an auto plant. And we found out that, number one, it was a non-union auto plant, number one. Number two, many of those people who were said to be Trump supporters, they were paid to be there as well. So this is what you get. All right, we have to expose this fraud. And I saw that video today on D.L. Hughley's Instagram page. We have to expose this fraud and these grifters, and then present the facts and evidence. Proper documentation ends all conversation. But this is what you're going to get. You're going to get more of this from Donald Trump, who's pandering and can't present any policies that are realistic that are going to help African Americans. Now compare that to what Donald Trump and Joe Biden, Kamala Harris have done, especially with student loan forgiveness, that continue today.
Now, and if y'all want to laugh, if y'all want to see a straight up minstrel show, okay, watch this.
On the campaign trail for one voter who got a big hug from Trump at an Atlanta Chick-fil-A while he met with supporters. Watch.
I don't care what the media tells you, Mr. Trump. We support you.
We love you.
Okay, 4 p.m. We've been 4 p.m.
Come here, let me give you a hug.
Please do.
Look at the here to tell us about it is that young woman herself, Michaela Montgomery. She's also the founder of a grassroots political group to conserve the culture. Michaela, I've been waiting for this interview all morning. So
I've been waiting for this my whole life.
And I've been waiting to say both of y'all out y'all damn minds. Matt, now Matt, not only that, he goes there and he lies. He talks, he mentions, I've done more for HBCUs than any president in history. Flat out lie. He mentions opportunity zones. Flat out lie. I mean, just lie. This was a staged event, and the Republicans are trying to push it out as if, this was just spontaneous, that he just gave a hug to this sister. She's a campaign op.
Can I yield my time to Kelly? Because I know Kelly wanted to get something in. I'm happy to yield that before I get.
Kelly's still trying to go in her appearance. So we got it.
It's not just about appearance, Roland. It's just like, for me, I'm about packaging, right? Even if you're an op, even if you are paid to do something and make it look like something else, look good doing it.
I got it. But here's my whole point. She's an op. So what they've done with this is try to play black people. And this is what they do. It's not real, Matt. And again, you sit an op there who brings 4 or 5 other loud black people. The cameras come there, and their whole deal is, see, the black people just loving them some Trump. You're an op. You're not real. And so my whole deal is, every time he comes around black people and starts lying, somebody needs to be there saying, every time you keep saying you've done more for HBCUs than anybody else. How much? Can you give me the number? Can you tell me what did you do? Opportunity zones. Can you tell me exactly how much of that money went to low-income residents, people of color? Please let me know that. They can't tell you.
No, they can't. And that's why right now we need that brother with the viral video. Why you always lying? Why you lying? Right? Notice I saying those partials right. But in any event,
first of all, you talking about my man Off Script. You talking about Scotty. So yeah, go ahead.
Hilarious. That joint had me dying. But in any event, Here's the thing. Not only are they lying, it's like we have short memories, because this is the same person who took out a full-page ad calling for the death penalty in response to the exonerated 5. So, 30 years later, to be acting as though you are a friend to Black people, or that you have, Black support in larger swaths than those who are paid or otherwise incentivized to come and support you, is flatly dishonest. But the thing about this is we see Mr. Trump doing this in not only as it relates to true political events, but selling Bibles. Like, bruh, come on, you are the person who least lives the edicts of the Bible, but you're selling Bibles? But there's such a large contingent of people out there who just are not daunted by that. And that's the bigger issue here, is that it seems like the Trump team is just emboldened to do and say whatever they want, because there's no real political loss and no political accountability for him continuing to lie. But what I think is especially problematic about this is that, look, Black people don't have to be monolithic. We are allowed to have our own individual thoughts, but you should never sell your self-respect in order to get clout. And that's what people like this young woman are doing, right? You're going to go and shuck and jive to get your 15 minutes of fame, but it's ridiculous, because if you agree with his policy positions, of which he has none, then, you can trumpet that and say, look, these are my closely held beliefs on his actual policy. But that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing political pageantry, both from those pandering to him and Mr. Trump and his team pandering to Black people with high top sales and Bibles.
It's also no shock when you have Lawrence Jones who will go on Fox News and just blatantly lie and just act just like when he had that other fool with the dude who supposedly was with BLM in Vermont. The most softball of softball interviews, and the dude was just straight lying the whole time. And so, Lawrence, do a fact check. I mean, bump it to a fact. Okay, maybe you don't search for one, but bump into a fact one day. But again, that's what you see, because what they love to present to their mostly white Fox News audience, hey, here are the Blacks. Look at the Blacks who are supporting Trump. And I'm going to say this here again for the low information voters out there, the people who don't pay any attention, all of y'all who thought these checks were overflowing to the Black community when Trump was there, just want to remind y'all that was COVID. Just want to remind y'all of that. So if y'all actually think that Trump is just going to be flowing checks to the Black neighborhood if he actually wins, y'all all need to be drug tested, because it ain't happening. And all of you are going to be in for a massive rude awakening when there comes more tax cuts for the rich and he leaves your broke asses out to dry, like he's done Giuliani, like he's done everybody else who stood with him. But y'all go ahead and play that little game and actually think Trump has your Black back. No, he plans on sending your Black ass back to somewhere else. Because as he said, why can't we bring in more people from Norway, from Switzerland? What he's saying is white people. Just so y'all know. All right, going to break, we come back. It has been years since the OJ Simpson trial. He's dead, and folks still are fighting over OJ. Did he do it? Did he not do it? Why he keep loving white women? I mean, the online debates to me have been absolutely astounding since news came out about his death on yesterday. Next, we'll chat with Carl Douglas, who was on the legal dream team for OJ Simpson during his double murder trial. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support us in what we do. Be sure to join the Bring the Funk fan club. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each, which will raise $1 million. You can send your check, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered, PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. The enormous impact of race, education, and affirmative action in America, and how, believe it or not, white America is starting to feel a little bit of the pain. Dr. Natasha Warriku joins us with a case study of one suburban community and how it reacted when the minority students started to excel.
Most people didn't say this explicitly, but was that, the academics standards are getting higher in part because of the Asian kids, and that is making our kids really stressed out. So we need to reduce the amount of homework teachers are allowed to assign.
She shares a perspective that you don't want to miss. That's on the next Black Table, only on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Prouder.
Right now, I'm rolling with Roland Martin, unfiltered, uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable. You hear me?
All right, folks. OJ Simpson is still the talk of the country after news came out yesterday that he died at the age of 76 of prostate cancer. It was announced by his family. This was just a couple of months ago on February 11th when OJ Simpson posted this video on Twitter. I'm going to play this for you. And it, of course, he was, after he got out of prison in Nevada, he was quite prolific on Twitter, always posting various videos, commenting on all sorts of stories. And so here was the last video post.
Hey, X-World, it's me, yours truly. Boy, what a beautiful day it is here in Las Vegas. Even though the game is indoors, it wouldn't have mattered, but still, it's nice to have a beautiful day like this. Hey, let me take a moment to say thank you to all the people who've reached out to me. My health is good. I mean, obviously, I'm dealing with some issues, but hey, I think I'm just about over it, and I'll be back on that golf course, hopefully in a couple of weeks. But it was very nice hearing from you and hearing those good, positive words. Thank you. Now, as far as the game goes, obviously, my prediction.
That was February 11th. 2 months later, OJ Simpson was dead, dying of prostate cancer. All sort of stories have been done. Folks talking about the recollections of OJ. This New York Times article I found to be quite interesting. This is what it says. OJ was an earthquake. We're still living with his aftershocks. He tried to shed his blackness, but his all-consuming murder trial put the historically lurid American psyche on full display. Carl Douglas served on the legal dream team during that murder trial for O.J. Simpson. He joins us right now. Carl, first of all, glad to have you. I know a lot of folks been trying to get your perspective, your thoughts on O.J. Before I ask a series of questions, when was the last time you talked or saw O.J.?
Roland, first, thank you so much for having me on your show, Myth. I really appreciate it. The last time that I spoke to OJ was probably the day after the verdict in 1995. The last time that I saw him was in April of 2005. That was during Johnnie Cochran's funeral here in Los Angeles. Reverend Al Sharpton was giving the eulogy, and he first asked the audience. 5,000 people filled the audience. It was so crowded, Oprah Winfrey was turned away at the front door. But he first looked around and said, how many people have ever worked with Johnnie L. Cochran? And I stood up, and many others who worked with him stood up as well. Then he asked, how many people here today had ever been represented by Johnnie Cochran? And I turned to my right and I saw Michael Jackson stand up. And one row back, and maybe 4 or 5 seats away, I saw OJ stand up as well. That sight of seeing Michael Jackson and OJ Simpson there together at that same place is a vision that I'll probably take with me to my grave, brother.
When you look at how even today there is still such a visceral reaction when just the mention of the name OJ Simpson. I mean, I have seen memes, I've seen posts, I've seen folks reliving the trial, reposting items, talking about how it was wrong. Jurors have been interviewed on different networks. Several of them said, look, we got it right. What was it, from your perspective, what was it about this case that was unlike any other in American history?
Because it was a perfect storm, Roland, of a whodunit. And layered on that was race. And layered on that was celebrity. And layered on that was domestic violence. And layered on that was entertainment in Los Angeles, some would say the media capital of the world. This was before X, Facebook, or Instagram. The only game in town at that time was the OJ Simpson trial. And so it really held the nation transfixed. When the verdict was rendered on October the 3rd of 1995, there were as many as 150 million people, more than 1/3 of the entire nation of this great nation of ours, were tuned in to watch that verdict. You hear about perhaps 14, 15, 19 million people watching the women's basketball game. But when you think about 150 million, 10 times that number of people watching one event, it really tells you the impact it has had on American history and American culture. Sir, people, white, black, young, and old, always will want to have a conversation with me about the O.J. Simpson trial whenever I deign to bring it up.
I mean, it really, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, it checked every single box. I mean, you had, athlete, rich guy, he black, the ex-wife was white, Ron Goldman. You had, I mean, it was everything all just converging at one time. And it really was about drawing a line in the sand. Folk was straight up in offices around the country picking sides. And it was an absolute black-white issue. And what was interesting about that is because you also had this black man who did everything he could to run away from black people and who openly talked about it. So that's also what was fascinating. And then you got racist Mark Furman, you got the N-word, I can't think what this trial didn't have.
Sure, man. But it also talks about the resiliency and how great black people are. Because OJ was known for saying, I'm not white, I'm not black, I'm OJ. Yet and still, when he got arrested, when he got in trouble,
his black ass was black.
He was embraced by the black community. He was one of us again now. And so the response at the verdict wasn't anything about OJ per se, but finally, once in this country, the system seemed to work in favor of a black man, and that was what we were rejoicing viscerally.
And that, Mark Lamont Hill actually tweeted that, and a lot of people got upset with his tweet when he talked about that, where he said that the justice system worked the way it was supposed to work because the state did not prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. And people got upset with him, and he said, I'm not saying OJ wasn't guilty. He said, I'm not saying he was guilty. He said the onus on the prosecution is to convict beyond a reasonable doubt. And he said, and the reality is the doubt was there.
And it's not, the juror's question, Roland, is not whether he is guilty or innocent. That's not the test. The test is whether the government has met its burden of proving him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And I can tell you this, Roland, there's a different burden in civil courts. They only have to prove that there's a preponderance of the evidence, more likely to be true than not true, 50.001%. And I dare say, if I were on that jury in Santa Monica for the civil verdict, I understand how they would rule that there's 50.1% proof against OJ Simpson civilly, but I also embrace and understand why this jury felt that the prosecution had failed in their burden of proving him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
For you, being a part of this legal defense team, many call the Dream Team, what was it like for you being in the midst of it, seeing the stories? Jury was sequestered, but seeing the stories and hearing everything was being talked about, hearing how everybody was being talked about. Then, of course, you had, we've heard these battles between Shapiro and Cochran and who was in charge, and it was like, okay, we got the white lawyers over here and the black lawyers over here. Then you had the F. Lee Bailey who was like, I'm gonna be with the black lawyers. And so you had this you had a racial dynamic in the country of the trial. You had a racial dynamic on the prosecution side and a racial dynamic on the defense side.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, Roland, because rarely in life do you have a chance to step back and say, you know, this is going to be important. And I fortunately had that wisdom moment when I was there in the trial. I was 40 years old, man, working with some of the greatest legal minds in America. F. Lee Bailey was my personal hero. Johnnie Cochran, I thought, was the greatest lawyer in the world at that moment in time. Alan Dershowitz was a legal titan in the appellate world. So I can remember times sitting back on Saturday afternoons and just taking it all in, because we would all meet and talk about the past week and the prior week. And some of the greatest legal minds coming together, talking about the same issues, was like finishing school, graduate school for me, who was a 15-year lawyer then in 1995.
Have you, because of your involvement with this, do you have folk today who are still mad and pissed off at you?
I don't know if it's because I'm a younger brother or what it is, but I have never had a negative word said to me in my face. In fact, ironically, Mark Furman wrote in his book, I've never read it, but I was told it says, if the entire Dream Team had performed like Carl Douglas, the case would not have turned into a circus. People may have all of these extraordinary views and opinions, but I can say I have never in my face been confronted with a problem. And I am one of the few people, Roland, on behalf of the defense, who will go on TV and talk about the case and defend the verdict. My community embraces me. I am welcomed. I am uplifted. And I continue to raise and uplift the memory and the legacy of my man, my friend and mentor, Johnnie L. Cochran Jr., who died in 2005, because I know if he were alive, he would be in my place talking about his success in that case 100%.
I'm gonna go to some questions from the panel after this question, but I gotta ask you this here. We've all seen that video of the verdict being read and the look on Kardashian's face, and when that happens, and then y'all retreat to a room. What was that like? I mean, and do you believe that he was shocked by the verdict? Because it's, again, everybody makes these assumptions that, oh, he clearly thought that OJ was gonna be found guilty, and it was stunned when the jury came back.
I was in the second row inside the well. My back was to he and F. Lee Bailey, so I didn't see that look on his face though I know what you're describing because they mentioned to me as well. We all went back to the back and celebrated. High fives, hugging, happy, joyous. There was not a hint or an indication, even from Bob Shapiro, that he was going to go that night and turn his back on the entire defense team. So I'm not a mind reader. I understand the question, but I have no insight whatsoever into what was going on in his mind at that moment. But I do know when we were all together, we were all celebrating after that day.
When you say what Shapiro did, for folks who don't know, I think he did an interview with Barbara Walters.
He did, yes. And he had an interview with them the night before, that night. And he said that the defense team had played the race card and had dealt from the bottom of the deck. That was offensive because the whole concept of using race as a defense ploy was a concept that he developed before Johnnie Cochran was ever a lawyer on the case. So the hypocrisy of that statement was clear to all of us. We were at OJ's house partying the night of the verdict. I remember watching it on the TV screen when he was talking to Barbara Walters.
And y'all were like, the hell is he doing?
And more. OJ was very vocal, man, okay? And very vocal. He was expressing anger and surprise, and he was talking, and he had this console that had 3 or 4 different TV screens on going at the same time, each one on a different news station. And he would be pacing around and yelling and talking and doing all kind of, but then we all stopped to listen to him about getting the interview.
Wow. Let's go. Matt, you're first.
Well, let me first geek out a little bit and say it is an honor to just be on the screen with you, Mr. Douglas. God willing, I have just a fraction of the legacy as a lawyer that you have, and I'm able to be a part of a team as impactful as yours. So let me give you your flowers first. And I don't want you to break privilege, but I'd love to know the answer to this question. So one thing I find as a black lawyer is a lot of times black clients just feel a kinship with me that they may not feel with other people on the team. I know we've talked about some of the racial issues, but what was your feeling, if you can speak to that, about how OJ aligned with the differing views in the room in terms of strategy, and just what role race played even inside the team and in terms of how the client was responding to various strategies and going forward, if you can speak to that?
It was amazing, brother, because before that, OJ chose not to see race in his life. He melded well between all racial groups and was probably very comfortable in the white world of Brentwood. At the same time, though, he was a brother from Hunters Point in San Francisco. The brother could talk trash, play bid whist, roll some dice, and be on that level as well. And he became more understanding of the significance of race in the criminal justice system as the case evolved over the course of the many months and years. And it's unique in Los Angeles because no one could understand the OJ Simpson verdict without understanding the racial dynamics which were then present in Los Angeles in that time and in that place. And I dare say, as a lawyer there for 44 years, man, if anyone tries a case in Los Angeles and ignores the object or the subject of race, they do so to their own peril. I consider race in choosing experts and figuring out what witnesses to call and when, because it is, regrettably, an important factor in everything that we do as lawyers.
Kelly.
Thank you.
I echo Matt's sentiments and being on the same screen as you, sir. It is an honor. The law nerd in me is also geeking out, so I will reel it back a little bit. My question to you isn't necessarily regarding legal strategy so much as it is, and I think it's fair to say, your attenuated relationship with OJ Simpson since the trial, based off of what you just said, the last time you saw him, the last time you spoke with him. Has your lens in regards to who OJ is, in regards to how the case played out, has that been clouded? Has that been cleared up? Has it shifted at all since the verdict? And if so, why?
It's funny because My career took off after the verdict. I remember most of what I did before that time was as a civil rights lawyer. And I would appear in civil court and say my name and who I worked for, and the entire courtroom would go silent to hear what the lawyer from Johnnie Cochran's office would say. And that was a tremendously powerful residue for my career. I left his office within years of the verdict, opening up my own firm. And the connection that I had with that case is in Los Angeles, very uplifting, very powerful. I don't advertise because I really don't have to. My work works for me. But it is the value of my involvement in that case that has only uplifted me and my career for the 30 years since then. I used to, in the beginning, not want to embrace my involvement until I realized when a wise person told me it's important that you are known for something. That which is considered the trial of the century, and we won. And as a trial lawyer, winning the biggest case in your career is something that we all would embrace and want to be a part of. As any lawyer who's a trial lawyer can tell you, when the game is on the line, when the clock is running down, I want the ball in my hand so that I can be the one to make the decisions and to do that thing that is best for my client. And that's just a special part of a personality of a trial lawyer, I think.
Michael.
All right, Attorney Douglas, thanks for coming on today. I remember watching the trial live on CNN. This is even before MSNBC existed, so I watched it basically every day. The question I had for you is I was watching some analysis from Attorney Reba Martin on CNN, and she was talking about Mark Furman and Mark Furman allegations of him using the N-word and him perjuring himself on the witness stand during that trial. And I think a lot of people may have forgotten about that, may not even know who Mark Furman is. Can you talk about that for a minute? And just a quick follow-up question, if I may. I just wanted to know, what do you think was the biggest piece of evidence or lack of piece of evidence that got OJ Simpson the acquittal?
Well, Mark Furman was a central detective who found a glove at the Rockingham location. He had, years before, petitioned the city of Los Angeles to allow him to retire with benefits because he harbored such virulent, racist, violent attitudes against black and brown prisoners and suspects that he thought he was a danger to himself and to others. He hated them so much that they would beat him, and he relished that kind of violence. So in Los Angeles, there is such distrust at that moment between the police and the African-American community. You could probably stop anyone on the streets of Los Angeles who was black at random, and they could tell you a story of themselves, their friend, or their family member being treated unfairly by the LAPD. That distrust is something that we as the defense fed into. And when you had a central detective who took the Fifth Amendment in a murder case, that was clearly a bright line. But the seminal piece of evidence, I say, that really turned the tide was that glove demonstration that we all remember when the murder glove didn't fit on the hand of the accused murderer. That was a visual sign that seared into the memory of the jurors, irrespective that there were 30 days of mind-numbing DNA evidence, irrespective that there were 3 weeks spent on the domestic relationships and the problems that they had in their past marriage. When there was a dramatic, in-your-face, feet-away demonstration and the murder glove did not fit the hand of the murderer, that, I think, was the moment when we all thought that a conviction was going to be impossible and that a not guilty verdict would prevail.
All right, Michael, get a follow-up. Come on.
See, Roland, that's how smooth I am. I asked two of them together.
All right,
Then
fine.
what's the follow-up?
Well, just making sure. Matt, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I have to ask this. I'm sure everybody wants to know. So you talked about the glove demonstration. Was there a point before then when Johnnie Cochran came up with the line and y'all were like, that's going to slay in closing argument? Or was that something off the cuff? Number one, I have to ask. And number two, please tell us what it was like working. I mean, you are one of the legends, but what was it like working with Brother Cochran? Because he's obviously, you know, most of our hero as lawyers, one of our heroes. And I'd love to know what that experience was like, beyond formative, of course.
Surely. The weekend after that glove demonstration, we would gather every Saturday in our conference room. There'd be 12 lawyers, investigators, staff sitting there working together. And there was a speaker phoning. Jerry Ullman, who was then the dean of Santa Clara's Law School, was on the phone. And Jerry Ullman said, hey guys, I got a saying for us. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. And we all first paused for a moment, thought about it, and the entire room erupted. Hey, yeah, that's the thing. Hey. It was a moment that I will always remember, and Jerry Ullman was the one that thought of that phrase. Your second question, I was with Johnnie Cochran for 12 and a half years. I always enjoyed being the man who whispered into the ear of the man. That was, to me, the seat of power. And I would always tell the lawyers, I don't care what you think, trust his instincts. Because the brother had instincts that were gleaned over doing trials, 3, 4, 5 trials a week as a city attorney for many years. Yep. He had instincts because he knew how things would play. He knew how people would be able to react to things. And as important, he had a remarkable ability, brother. I can't do it. He could be kicking your tail during trial and at a break, saunter over to the other side and ask you about your family. How's the wife doing? How's the kid doing? He had that remarkable ability to compartmentalize, and prosecutors, defense lawyers alike loved him some Johnnie Cochran. He had that smooth way that was able to impress everyone he was around.
All right, then. Carl Douglas, last question. When you look at all of this coverage and when you look at these conflicted feelings, just your assessment of how there's these multiple versions of who OJ Simpson was and how he is going to be remembered for the rest of eternity.
It's going to be complicated, regrettably, Roland. Hopefully, there will be some remembrance and recognition of how great an athlete he was in the first half of his life. But regrettably, particularly with the advent of social media, he will be most remembered for someone that America thinks got away with murder. That, I think, unfortunately, will be the lasting memory of my former client, OJ Simpson.
Carl Douglas, always a pleasure, man. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Brother, have me back again, please. Always enjoy being with you.
We'll have you back on. Thanks a lot. All right, folks, that is it for us. We appreciate everybody checking us out. We, of course, had a fantastic week. I want to thank again Mercedes-Benz. I was at the Masters Wednesday and Thursday, and so I want to thank Erica Bolden, Monique, Lars, and the whole team there. It was great seeing everyone there. Tomorrow, I'm actually moderating a panel for the National Medical Association here in D.C. At their conference, talking about, of course, tobacco. And as soon as I get done with that, I'm hopping on a plane. Monday, y'all, I'm going to be broadcasting from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Darius Rucker has his Monday after the Masters golf tournament. And so I'm going down there to hang out with my homeboy, Darius Rucker. So we'll be from Myrtle Beach on Monday. And so hope you have a great weekend. Don't forget, support us in what we do. Look, the information you get here, ain't nobody else doing this here, y'all. They're not having this conversation. Ebony's not doing, Essence is not doing, not the Griot, not Blavity, not Black Enterprise, not Urban One, not Rolling Out. None of these folks. You're only getting it here on Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. And so join our Brina Funk fan club. You can see your check and money order. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Don't forget, you can also get our Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. You can also get, of course, check out Black Star Network app. We're on 4 fast channels. We are on, of course, Amazon News. You can go to Amazon Fire. You can check us out there. You can tell Alexa play news from the Black Star Network. You can also watch us on Plex TV, Amazon Freevee, Amazon Prime Video. And don't forget to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available at bookstores nationwide. That's it. I'll see y'all on Monday. Holla!
Martin.